Hey guys, Shift A3 here. I wanted to make a quick video showing how to actually set up a ZuluSCSI device with the Myarc Geneve 9640 computer utilizing my 838 SCSI card. What we will be doing is creating the 6 248 megabyte images since the Geneve can only see up to 6 SCSI devices, even though the ZuluSCSI will do up to 8. I think with newer firmware, you can even do more. But that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you how to set up MDOS from the actual bare bones nothing, right? So you just have to make sure you can currently boot your Geneve with MDOS. This will be geared for the newer version of MDOS as well as the Myarc Geneve that has the new version 2.0 EEPROM, which changes the naming convention of the system sys file, things like that, and fixes all sorts of stuff. So let's go ahead and get going. So the first thing we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to create the images. Now you can do this on both the or Windows, Mac, Linux, Raspberry Pi, whatever. You can actually create these raw images. These are raw, and there's a specific naming convention we do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my batch file that I've created. Pull this over here so you can see it. So this is just use the standard fsutil command to create a raw image file. Each one of them, these are the actual names of the image file. The 260 whatever bytes, this is equivalent to 248 megabytes. Now these numbers that you see here, these will coincide with what image is assigned when the ZuluSCSI scans to that particular SCSI ID. So HD0 will be assigned to SCSI ID 0 and so forth. So this literally only takes about a second to run. So let's go ahead and run that. Bam, it's all done. So as you can do, you can see them, these are all blank. They're just raw images, is all they are. Now, before I start the next video, I will probably go in and pre-stage HD 1 through 5 and go ahead and format those. And then I'll start the video on the actual Geneve system so you can see me doing it on the actual HD 0, because that's the one we're really going to be working on to get MDOS up. So before I do that, though, I want to go through and show you this actual INI file. And I can point out a couple of things here. So let's kind of make this a little wider so it kind of wraps nicely and looks nice. There we go. So the main things here is most of the INIs are the same thing. This is a pretty stripped down version. This basically tells the system here what it is, right? That's on 18 sectors for tracks, only for floppies. Don't have to worry about that. This is where the images will reside on the actual SD card. So there will be an images directory there, and that's where we're going to drop those images we just created. Now here, as you can see, these are, say, SCSI 0, SCSI 1. These are the IDs that it knows what it's doing. And so you can actually set all these, right? And I'll come back in here shortly and I'll add the SCSI 2, 3, 4, and 5 as well. That way it can scan them all. And then we will show everything else we need to do. So we will go ahead and pause this video for now. And I will start switching over to the Geneve and we will continue it. Hey guys, we're back. So as you can see, I have MDOS booted on my Geneve. This particular version is 7.42. It actually boots directly from my Tippy. As you can see, I've already got the SCSI PDMA off. That's actually in my auto execute file there. That way it doesn't cause any problems. So let's go ahead and get in there. So the first thing we're going to do though is when you boot an MDOS, this PDMA is typically default to enabled, if I remember right. So we're just going to go ahead and I would do this just to do it. Go ahead and tell it PDMA off. That way it's done, right? So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into GPL. So on your MDOS diskette or however you're booting into MDOS, you may have multiple diskettes so you can have all this. You will need GPL. You will need CYA. We'll use CYA to set up the drive mappings and the SCSI ID mappings and things like that. That way it's automatically set as soon as MDOS boots up. You don't have to worry about assigning anything, it's already there. But yeah, you definitely need that. If you don't want to use the command line, you can use something like GDM2K from Fred. We will have to, here, we're going to run the editor assembler cartridge, and then from there, we will actually run Fred's disk utilities to 2000, his latest version. And we're going to do that to actually format the actual SCSI drive images that we created before. Now I've already pre-staged where I've already formatted SCSI drives 2 through 6. So we're just going to focus on 1 because that's where we're actually going to be copying the MDOS. Now, as I said before, this takes in account that you should have the boot EEPROM version 2, which changes the naming conventions for the system sys file, things like that, and how other files it needs to boot. But this is what it does. This will cover or will work for previous versions of the boot EEPROM, but you just need to make sure you follow what it is. Like in previous versions, I believe the system-sys file was system /sys, if I remember right. And you would actually have to put that in quotes to copy it, just simply because of the slash that's there. So we're in GPL. So let's go ahead and run the editor assembler cartridge. Mine sits on my Tippy. And once this loads up, we will go into the editor assembler cartridge with ROM page mode. So we press F5, and we're going to press F7 to execute the module. And there's your editor assembler. Now we're going to run the disk utilities. DSK0. Fred gets his own directory because he has quite a few good programs. Disk utilities 2K. Now, with the INI file that we configured, I've already added the different SCSI devices from 0 through 5 because it counts starting at 0. And it will see these exactly the way you want them. So you can tell it and give it an actual volume name, basically. And it will display. Otherwise, it'll display whatever the default is, which I think in most cases it's called Fireball. But we're going to display devices so you can see it does actually see the SCSI card as well as the ZuluSCSI with the 6 SCSI images. So there they are, 1 through 6. Like I said, I've already formatted 2 through 6, so let's go ahead and format the first one. So we're going to press 4 to initialize, 2 for SCSI, SCSI device 1. Now this is where you pick your name, pick your volume name. Typically, I like to tell it, since it's going to be SCSI 1, that's what I put as my volume name. But you can pick whatever you want. Tell it to proceed. It'll take, I don't know, 10 seconds or something like that to finish formatting. and then we can actually exit out and do our copies. And it's done. So we can quit, right? To get out of this screen, you just press Control Shift Shift. It takes you back to the GPL main page. Escape. Now you're out. So if you look at what I currently have assigned, which is the standard, except for the tip one, I did that, because I need my tippy, right? So I replaced the HDS1 with tip one. If you look at the actual SCSI mapping, as you see, that's the standard. That's how this comes. If you're using an IDE drive, it IDE will take the SCS, but it starts for IDE devices starts at A. So now we can actually do our copy. Now you can see H is my SCSI. So if I do a directory of H, it'll show you I have nothing there, but it's there. It sees it, right? Same thing with my I for SCSI 2. And my J, right? But like I said, you can have up to 6 drives, and I'm gonna take all that. So now let's actually copy our files. So I'm going to use GDM2K because I like it. Runs directly from an NDOS prompt. First, we're going to go to my TIPI, which is DSK0. So it reads that. We're going to tab over to the second part of that window. We're going to press F10, and we're going to put in SCSI 1. Going to tab back. So the first thing we need to do, I need to get down to the latest version of NDOS. For the EEPROM, these are the different files it needs to see. EEPROM looks for these. And if one of these are in the root, the load IDE, load MFM, the SCS, or the tip, it knows where it needs to go look for to boot. So since we're doing SCSI, it's SCS. We're going to copy that. Go up. And we're going to go down to the NDOS section here. We're going to copy this. This will take a minute because it's 545 sectors. And once we're done with copying this, we'll go ahead and copy, the CYA. That way we can get that set up. So everything sees your drives like they should be when you boot into MDOS for the first time from the SCSI system. It's almost done. So that is done. So now we'll go up. We will go to CYA, and we'll go ahead and copy that. So CYA is in its own directory, right? So now everything that we need is copied as far as just to get it to boot, right? So we're going to go ahead and quit. Now I'm going to do a forceful hard reset, which is Control Shift Shift, and you'll get the swan screen, or if you're using a, say the boot 1.0 EEPROM, you get the other screen, which is just shows like Geneve 9640 and some text. Hard boot. So it'll take a minute because I actually have the HFDC in, but I have uh, my drives turned off, so it has to time out because it does boot to the HFDC first, and then it will check the SCSI, and if it sees a bootable partition on the HD0 image, then it will boot, and there it goes. So it's reading the system sys file and loading your MDOS directly in, and there you go. So now 7.45, I know that my folder says 7.46. I suspect the variable wasn't changed when they released a small update. So now it's done, but of course, everything is still not set up completely, right? So let's look at our, hitting the wrong keyboard again. See the SCSI map's still the same. Your assign's going to still be, now this is the complete default. This has HDS 1, 2, 3, SCSI 1, 2, 3. So we want to go to H, right? We want to go to CYA directory, and we want to execute CYA. So now we've executed. Before you do anything, you have to load the MDOS, because it has to load it up in memory so it knows what to change. Now here, if you were actually running a previous version of the EEPROM, not version 2, but say version 1, you would actually have to type in, I'll go ahead and show you what it would look like. You would actually have to put it, hold on, if I remember right, I believe it's this, system quote /quote sys, like that. If I remember right, it's been a long time. Just simply because that slash, you have to have that in quotes, otherwise it doesn't know what to do. What? I don't know how to type. There we go. So let's load that. That will take a minute. And once it's loaded, it has to go through its CRC integrity value. Okay, so it tells you it hasn't been compromised. You're good to make your changes. If it's been compromised, if I recall right, it won't let you make any changes. You have to get a good version. So the drive map reassign, here's your assign statements. The remap drives is typically for your floppy disk drives, or like a RAM disk that respond as a DSK. Assign statements. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to change E to SCSI 1, F to SCSI 2, G to SCSI 3, H to SCSI 4, I to SCSI 5, and we could actually do J to SCSI 6, right? Now let me escape out of here. We're going to do last drive is K. Whoops. Now we can do K is tip 1, which is my type I, my tip. So now we go to our SCSI IDs assignments, right? So your SCSI device for 1, that's 0. That's your boot drive. 2 would be 1, 3 to 2, 4 would be 3, 5, 4, and 6, 5, just like that. So there's other stuff you could do if you wanted to. You could, change colors and all this other stuff, if I remember right. It's been a while. So now you want to resave your MDOS. It remembers your last path. We tell it to do it. So it's going to recalculate the CRC, and then it's going to write it. And once it's done writing, we can exit out of this. We'll create a quick auto execute file just to be able to enable TI mode and go ahead and turn off the actual PDMA. Quit. So TI mode. Whoop, there it is there. So now we're going to do a hard reset again. So it gets all the new MDOS. Now, if you just make change, say you've already made all the changes and you're going in and you're making changes to your auto execute file, and you don't want to do a complete hard boot, you don't have to. You can do just a Control Alt Delete, and it's kind of like a soft reboot where it just reloads the auto execute file for you. Just in case y'all didn't know that. And once it comes up, then we will check our mappings and make sure everything's good. Should be up in just a second. Okay. So one of the things I probably should have did and I didn't do was tell it to go ahead and when it boots up to change to my E drive, but you can always put that in the auto execute file. So we look at our SCSI maps, that should all be changed, and they are. We look at our assign statements, and that's all good. So if I do a directory on my TIPI, as you can see, it's drive K, and there it is. So you can do directories on, let's just go ahead and go to E. There's my SCSI 1, SCSI 2, SCSI 3, 4. This should be 5, and J6. Whoop, okay. Maybe I didn't format J. Probably not, but that's okay. So this is what you're looking at. It's fairly simple. Doesn't take a whole lot of time, and then you have a fully system. Now, the next thing that I would be doing is just loading up. If I go to my TIPI, right, and I could load up my GDM2K, and then I can start copying all this other stuff that I, would typically use. Change this to SCSI 1. And like the ANSI driver, right? So let's do, we're going to say 2. I've already got the CYA. The DM manager is good. Editor, what, GDM2K definitely, right? But there's all sorts of stuff, mouse stuff. That's for the type. That's for the TIPI. I can tell it to copy, and it will just start copying everything with all the directories. So that's pretty much it, guys. Um, Pretty simple. I have tried this on 3 different versions of the ZuluSCSI, and it works just fine on all 3 of them. I did upgrade my ZuluSCSIs to the latest latest firmware. Um, I have a slim ZuluSCSI, and I have one of the original versions, and then I have the RP 2040 version. So I've tried it on 3 different ones. So, like I said, this uses my 838 SCSI card, which is a pretty much a direct copy with some um, few changes to it. Some of the circuitry that was uh, traced on the board, the original board, was never used. Nothing was ever implemented, so I removed that. Um, and then I actually added a PLC-C version of the actual controller chip on this, as well as the DIP chip you can use. And it works, as you see, pretty well. It's been rock solid. I released this, I think, a couple of years ago. And I still have plenty of them in stock at my store if you want to go check them out at shift838.com/store. So I got plenty of stuff there for the Geneve and the TI as well. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps.